Hey guys, in this video, we are going to review some of the top IDO launchpads and see how they did for the month of September, as well as show you how you can research this on your own. So I have here a sheet where I recorded 4 IDO launchpads and I just reviewed them. And I want to show you what I did so that you can see for any of the technical data type guys who just want to understand and just see whether or not this would be a good investment. So these 4 launchpads are at a $40,000 allocation. So this is to say if you invested $40,000 in the actual token, like Polkafoundry, Redkite, what would the actual profits have been? So you can see here I have listed, they actually did 8 different, I don't know why this is in Philippines, but I can't even read Filipino, but they launched 8 different IDOs for the month of September, and you can see here that I based it on the price as of when I did this actual sheet, which I believe was a few weeks ago, so the price could be higher or lower. But let's just say that you didn't time your selling of your tokens, and you just sold it at the current price. It's important to note that all of my estimations are based off of the current price as of the time that I did this sheet, not the all-time high. If you're skilled at IDOs, then some of these, if you sold at the all-time high, it would have been 12x versus 4.6x. So just be aware of that. If you are skilled, then obviously you will do better than the performance of the sheet. But for the sake of just saying that you're not great at selling, what would the performance have been? I like Redkite because it's a more well-known one, and if you watched my other video on gaming launchpads, it's one of the ones that I talked about for games, and I believe that games are going to be hot. So if you do believe in games and you think that that is the future of crypto, I would strongly say that you should consider looking at games instead of the typical projects that are just launching out of nowhere. But there is quite a lot of gaming launchpads. If you want to look at that, just check out my video on 4 gaming launchpads. So they launched 8 different projects. It looks like all of them did around an average of let's say 7x. And if you saw at the all-time high, you would have been probably average of over 10x. So the average allocation when I asked around in Polkafoundry for the $40,000 tier, which I believe is Eagle, was about $150. And note that some were $100, some were $200. But the average allocation that you got is $100. Now, obviously, if you had gotten for GameFi, which is mentioned on the Gaming IDO Launchpad YouTube as well, if you had gotten, let's say, $250 on just this one alone, that would have changed things quite greatly, right? It would have been $11,000 of profits, and that would have made the monthly profits a lot higher. But this is just a little bit speculative. So the profits in total for the month, and that doesn't include the allocation. I really should have minus the allocation, but the profits that you would have gotten is 13,841. To me, that's fairly good, right? You spend $40,000 and a month later you've earned $13,000. And that's not to say that the price of Polkafoundry went up, which it did. So you would have been up even more on your investment. But what would happen if you invested when it was high and then your investment is down? Well, that's a different story. So in this specific scenario, you would have been up on the IDO launches, but also you would have been up on your price of Polkafoundry. Occamfi is a Cardano launchpad. It's one that I'm personally in at tier 3, but this is one that has really underperformed compared to the rest of the market. Hard Wallet was the exception where it did a 13x, but in general, and if you don't know, this was actually done by a guy, I think his name is Arthur, in the Occamfi community chat, but this is the current, this is the all-time low, and this is the all-time high. So the current figures for the IDOs that they launched would have been 3.6x, a negative, and then 2x pretty much 5x, 2x, 1x, 2x, 2x. So basically, you would have kind of been at a loss. I believe that the profits would have only been around 2,500 if you sold at the current pricing. So this one truly underperformed. Like it greatly underperformed. And this is only for the month of September. So it's only these three. Oh, wait, these 5 or 4. 2, 3. Yeah, so it would have only been these 4. And that would have been a total of $2,500 of profit. But the price of the coin is also heavily down. So you would have probably lost quite a lot of money on your $40,000 investment and then only earned $2,500. Occamfi is still a project that I really like because it is a Cardano Launchpad. The issue is that, yeah, it is kind of suffering right now. The next one is Seedify. And just to mention, if you wanted to do this on your own, right, all you would have to do is go to the actual website and just go to what they completed, all the sales. You can actually see here what all their sales are. And then you could just click on what the price was. So if you click in, it'll tell you, hey, one is worth 0.0002 and the current price is 0.027. So if you were in this IDO, you would have made a solid 10x plus, which is really nice. But it is a $150 allocation, which means you would have only made $1,500, which is great. And you know, I really like Polkafoundary because they continue to launch quite a lot of IDOs. Whereas Occamfi, as you can see, only launched 4. This one launched 8. And overall, the X's on Redkite are much better. But I think it's really important to do this research before you invest into a Launchpad because you need to see whether or not, data-wise, whether you should make that decision or not. So Seedify is the next one. And Seedify has a much bigger allocation, which I really like. So in the same way, you would just go to Seedify and you would take a look. Well, for one, you'd take a look to see what the next launches are and see if you actually like what they're launching in 5 days, in 13 days, 18 days to be announced. And just be like, okay, do I really like what they're launching upcoming? And then take a look at what they launched before. I don't know why this pool is double. Oh, because it's private. So you do the same thing where you just click in, you look at the price, and you'd say, okay, the max allocation is this. This is for the top tier. And 1 BUSD equals 2.5 FINA. And then you'd go to CoinMarketCap and you type in FINA. And you'd be like, oh, okay, this made 1 divided by 5. It was 0.4 cents. So this did 4x. And then you would just log it, right? What was the all-time high? The all-time high was, looks like it was $2. Yeah, $2. And you would just input it here. You'd put like the FINA, all-time high of $2, right now 1.6. The price is at launch. The IDO price would be this, and then you would just do a ratio and say, okay, it did 4x, and at an all-time high of 5x, you input the allocation, which when I did the math at the time, the average allocation was $600. And from that, you can say, okay, well, you just made $2,400. But for the month of September, they did not have a lot. They only had 4. What I really like about Seedify is that the allocations are really big, right? $600 is quite big. And so when something does a 10x, your profits are really large. Again, if you had sold at 10x, this would have been $6,000 profits. And so Seedify would have been a lot better than Polkafoundary, probably. So yeah, this is Seedify. They do launch less than Polkafoundry, but their allocations are much bigger. And finally is TPad. TPad launched a ton of projects. It launched, I think that's 9. Oh, that's 8. Oh, no, wait, that's 8. Yeah, so they launched 8, and Polka Fantasy was really a exception because it really just exploded. And because of that, the X's were quite intense. So this is an outlier, right? Like the allocation was $17 at the 40K tier at the time. They've now raised the tiers by 50% more. So that means that it would really be a 60K tier, I believe. And so anyway, the profits for the month of September would have been 48,000. And so that's a really good investment. And it would have been a really good decision. But really, I just wanted to show this to show historically what the IDO launchpads did, like Seedify did this much if you base it on just the current price, and TrustPad did this much. But again, you should really be doing your own research and just logging out each and every one of the actual IDOs they did, looking at the price and coin market cap, and then making a decision based on the information that you see, but also based on what the upcoming IDOs are. So for this one, this has one upcoming in a day, it looks like, and then Mech Master, and that's it. And Seedify, I think we saw as 5, and then I believe TrustPad has none. But basically, I do think TrustPad was an outlier where like it did have a really lucky month of September. I personally sold my coins on TrustPad just because I no longer like I did enjoy everything from FNDZ all the way up to Amasa and more, but I'm good, and I didn't do the 40K tier. Anyway, so personally, look, this isn't financial advice. What I'm trying to encourage is that you just do your own research and you check and make sure that you log each and every one of the IDOs, and that way you make an informed decision on your launch pads, because you really do not want to just make a decision from that. So I hope this helps, and happy IDOs.